Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotarhata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nashtapraya Shabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, texts 41 to 47. Chitraketu Surocischa Chitraketu Surocischa Viraja Mitra Evacha Viraja Mitra Evacha Ulbano Vasubridhyano Ulbano Vasubridhyano Dyuman Shaktyadayopare Dyuman Shaktyadayopare Chitraketu Surocischa Viraja Mitra Evacha Ulbano Vasubridhyano Dyuman Shaktyadayopare Chitraketu Surocischa Viraja Mitra Evacha Ulbano Vasubridhyano Dyuman Shaktyadayopare Chitraketu Surocischa Ulbano Vasubridhyano Dyuman Shaktyadayopare Chitraketu Surocischa Viraja Mitra Evacha Ulbano Vasubridhyano Dyuman Shaktyadayopare चित्रकेतु शुरोचिश्च विरजा मित्र एव च उल्बनो वसुभृद्यानो द्युमान् शक्त्यादयो परे। माताजी। चित्रकेतु सुरोचिश्च विरजा मित्र एव च उल्बनो वसुभृद्यानो द्युमान् शक्त्यादयो परे। चित्रकेतु सुरोचिश्च विरजा मित्र एव च उल्बनो वसुभृद्यानो द्युमान् शक्त्यादयो परे। What to a translation, please repeat. Chitraketuhu, Chitraketu, Surochihi, Surochihi cha, and Surochi, Virajaha, Viraja, Mitraha, Mitra, Eva, also, cha, and, Ulbanaha, Ulbana, Vasubhridyanaha, Vasubhridyana, Dyuman, Dyuman, Shaktyadayaha, sons headed by Shakti, Apare, from his other wife. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, by Charanaravinda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The names of these 7 sages. So just to give you context, the previous verse speaks about the great sage Vashishta begotten his wife Urja, sometimes called Arundhati, 7 spotlessly great sages headed by the sage named Chitraketu. So these are his brothers of Chitraketu. The names of these 7 sages are as follows: Chitraketu, Surochi, Viraja, Mitra, Ulbana, Vasubhridyana and Dyuman. Some other very competent sons were born from Vashishta's other wife. Purport. Urja, who is sometimes known as Arundhati, was the wife of Vashishta, was the 9th daughter of Kardama Muni. We'll continue reading the rest of the verses in this section. Text 42. Chittis tu atarvana patni lebe putram dhritavratam dadyancham ashvashi rasham brigorvamsham nibodame. Translation. Chitti, wife of the sage Adarva, gave birth to a son named Ashvashira by accepting a great vow called Dadyancha. Now you may hear from me about the descendants of the sage Brihu. Purport. The wife of Atharva, known as Chitti, is also known as Shanti. She was the 8th daughter of Kardama Muni. Brigu kyatyam mahabhaga patnyam putran ajijana dataram cha vidataram shriyam cha bhagavatparam. The sage Brigu was highly fortunate. In his wife known as Kyati, he begot 2 sons named Data and Vidata and 1 daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ayatim niyatim chaiva sute merus tayoradat tabhyam tayor abhavatam mrikanda prana evacha. The sage Meru had 2 daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Data and Vidata. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to 2 sons, Mrikanda and Prana. Markandeyo Mrikandasya Pranat Vedashira Mune Kavischa Bhargavo Yasya Bhagavan Ushana Sutaha. From Mrikanda, Markandeya Muni was born, and from Prana, the sage Vedashira, whose son was Ushana, Shukracharya, also known as Kavi. So Kavi is another name of Shukracharya. Thus Kavi also belonged to the descendants of the Bhrigu dynasty. You will see more about Kavi in 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Vamanadeva's pastime. Ta ete munaya shatar lokan sargair abhavayan yeshakardama dauhitra shantana katitastava. Shrinvata Shraddhadanasya Sadhya Papa Haraparaha Prashutim Manavim Daksha Hupaye Mehi Ajatmajaha. Translation. Now, we touched on this in the last class. We are going through all these names. This particular verse gives the Falashruti of knowing about the descendants of this dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu. Please listen to this carefully. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. I'll read that again. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. So whenever you come across these names, understand, the more you hear, the more your sins are going away. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prashuti, married the son of Brahma, named Daksha. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Kam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. I'll read the translation of verse 47. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of the sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prashuti, married the son of Brahma named Daksha. Hare Krishna. Today is also the disappearance day of His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We'll cover these verses and spend probably last 10-15 minutes hearing about the history of our greatest Simha Guru, or the Lion Guru. Srila Prabhupada would often speak of his spiritual master like that. He is known as Simha Guru. So we are reading this section. The chapter is titled The Genealogical Table of the Daughters of Manu. Manu had 3 daughters, Akuti, Prashuti and Devahuti. So this particular chapter speaks about the descendants of all those 3 daughters. First 9 verses, we discussed about the descendants of one of his daughters, Akuti. Then this section which we are reading, concluding with verse 47, starting from verse 10 onwards till 47, it discusses about the descendants of Devahuti. And the rest of the chapter will speak of the descendants of Prashuti. So this is how first we discuss Akuti, then Devahuti, and then Prashuti. Now Devahuti, that's the section we are discussing now. Kardama Muni begot through his wife Devahuti 9 daughters and 1 son. Who is the son? of the mother Devahuti, Kapiladev. And there are 9 daughters. Each one of these daughters were given in charity to different sages. And the section, starting from verse 10 onwards, discusses about each one of them. Who did each of these daughters marry, and what sons and daughters did they beget? I'll quickly go through them. So the first daughter, Kala, she is married to Marichi. And through Marichi, she had 2 sons, Kashyapa and Purnima. Purnima begot 2 sons, Viraja and Vishwaga, and daughter Devakulya. Devakulya is who? Yes? Mother Ganga. Okay, so Devakulya, she becomes the divine Ganges. She is a personality. She was offered in charity, washing the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And after she has been washed, or after she has washed the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, Devakulya becomes Mother Ganga. All great personalities. Second daughter, Anasuya, was given in charity to Atri Muni. There was a series of verses that described about the penances of Atri Muni, how Atri wasn't sure who the Supreme Lord is, so he was doing penances, offering whoever who is the creator, maintainer, and the controller. Please be pleased with my prayers, and please bless me with illustrious sons. He opens his eyes. Who does he see? He sees all the 3, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Because he didn't mention who, all 3 of us have come. Goes to show how personal Supreme Lord is. When we are offering our prayers to the Supreme Lord, we are very, very specific. Aradhyo Bhagavan, Vrajesha Tanayas Taddama Vrindavanam, Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavatu Vargena Vakalpita. Very specific. Aradhya Bhagavan, our worshipable Lord is Vraja Isha Tanaya. Vraja is Supreme Lord, or Vraja is rather Vrindavana. Isha is the Lord of Vrindavana, which is Nanda Baba. Vraja Isha Tanaya. Tanaya means the son of the Lord of Vrindavana. That's what it means. Which means we are specifically offering our prayers to Shri Radha Gopinath. Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanaya Taddama Vrindavanam. His abode is Vrindavana. In one place, Prabhupada is speaking to a Christian priest that when you offer prayers, you have to be very personal. And Prabhupada is saying, we know about God. We know His name, we know His address, we know His parents, we know where we are going. Prabhupada, when you hear that conversation of Prabhupada, you will understand how Prabhupada is dealing with Krishna just like how you deal with any other person. So personal. Yeah, we know Supreme Lord, we know His name, we know His address, we know where He lives, we are going to Him by following this process. And we need to have that confidence. So here Atri Muni is offering the prayers without specifically directing his penance to one particular deity. So all 3 of them come, and each one of them, they bless him, so that an amsa or an expansion of each one of those personalities appear as one of his sons. Through Brahma, or Brahma's expansion appeared as Soma. Likewise, you come across Shiva's expansion as the famous Durvasa Muni. And through Vishnu, he had Dattatreya, Datta Atreya, son of Atri Muni. So that's Dattatreya. So this is Anasuya. If you look at each one of these 9 daughters of Kardama Muni and Mother Devahuti, very illustrious personalities, each one of them. Each one of them, they are famous based on their own qualities. Like Anasuya, for example, known for her chastity. You will see instances that are given in the Shastras where even Mother Sita, she goes and associates with them. Many great saintly women, they go and associate with Anasuya to learn from her how to worship the Supreme Lord, to learn from her how to assist their husbands in the service of the Supreme Lord, like that. That's Anasuya. Shraddha, that's the third daughter, was given in charity to Angira. And through Angira, I think this is the These are the verses which we read yesterday. Ram Prabhu was giving 4 daughters and 2 sons, Sinivali, Kuhu, Raha, Raka, and Anumati. 4th daughter, Havirbu, was given in charity to Pulastya. Pulastya's one of his sons is the famous Agastya Muni. And yesterday, Prabhu was mentioning how Agastya Muni, is one of the very ancient sages, powerful sage. He was giving example of how when goddess Parvati, when she appeared, initially she was as Sati, as daughter of Daksha, and then later on Daksha, he offends Shiva. Because of that, she, using her yogic power, she just self-immolates her body, and then she appears again as the daughter of Himalaya Parvat. That's why she comes to be known as Parvati. And when she was given in marriage to Lord Shiva, everyone was assembled in Himalayas, and because of that, earth was tilting. There was an imbalance. So just to maintain the balance, Lord Shiva sends Agastya Muni down south. Then he goes there and he balances. He must be pretty powerful. Another pastime, Prabhu was mentioning about how he just swallowed the ocean like that, just like that. So this is Agastya Muni. You will come across references of Agastya Muni in many Puranas. Ramayana speaks about it. Mahabharata also speaks about it in Agastya. Agastya, Ramayana touches on a lot. So this is Agastya. Pulastya also had one other son, Vishrava. Vishrava is very famous. Can you think of any relationship of Vishrava to another famous personality? Who is Vishrava? Yes. Father of Ravana. So Vishrava is Ravana's father. Vishrava had 2 wives, Idavida. Idavida's son is Kuvera, and second wife is Keshini. She is a demoness actually. So through Keshini, he begot 3 sons. All 3 were famous in their own league. One is Ravana, second Kumbhakarna, and third is the greatest devotee, Vibhishan. Okay, so through Keshini, Vishrava had. So this is Havirbu, which is the 4th daughter, or who is the 4th daughter, was given in charity to Pulastya. 5th one, Gati, was given in charity to Pulaha, and they begot 3 great sages, Karma Shrestha, Variyan, and Sahishnu. 6th one, Kriya, is the name of the daughter, given in marriage to Kratu. And Kratu, in the womb of Kriya, begot 60,000 sages, Valakilyas. Valakilyas, they took to Vanaprastha ashram, all of them together. And because of that, that's why they come to be known as Valakilyas. They are of the size of thumb. It's given, if you read 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, they are of size of thumb, and they travel along with Suryadev. When in 5th canto we'll actually see Suryadev goes all around Bhumandala, going round and round and round. His chariot driver is Aruna, and ahead of him, all these 60,000 sages, they recite Vedic poems in glorification of sun god, Surya Narayana, and they keep going along with him. So chariot must be quite big. But actually there are many more personalities who travel with sun god. These are Valakilyas. Valakilyas, they play a very important role in the appearance of the carrier of Vishnu. What's the carrier? Garuda. So in one instance, Kashyapa was doing Homa to begot illustrious sons. And then one of his sons, which is Indra, he helps him, bringing the sacrificial wood. And while he is carrying, he sees these 60,000 small ant-like creatures. For his size, when he looks down, he looks at like they are just a thumb size. Have you seen sometimes there are a group of ants, they carry a small piece of wood or something, so struggling so much. Like that he sees them and he insults them. Get lost, move away, I may stamp you to death, like that. So when Valakilyas hear that, their size is small, but their tapobal is very strong, but their power is very, very strong. And they look at him and they curse him. You are so proud because you are Indra. We curse you that there will be another Indra who will scare you to death. Look at their curse. They curse him. Now Indra gets scared and he runs to Kashyapa. And then he tells to Kashyapa, this is what had happened. So then Kashyapa says, don't worry, you are the Indra because your position is given to you by Lord Brahma himself. So it will never go in vain. At the same time, Valakilyas, they are also not ordinary personalities. We see here 60,000 great sages. They come in the lineage of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, who is their grandfather and grandmother actually. So they are the grandsons of Mother Devahuti. Very powerful. So then Kashyapa says, even their words also can't be true, so there will be second Indra. But don't worry, I'll make him the Indra of birds. And then he begots through his two other wives, Vinata and I think Kadru. Through Kadru, he begots 1,000 snakes. That's how snakes come to be. And through Vinata, he begot 2 sons. But because Vinata, she is like the mother of all birds. So those 2 sons were first laid as eggs and they were waiting. Meanwhile, these 1,000 eggs of snakes, they have hatched and they have come out. So Vinata gets upset. They are all growing. What about my 2 sons? They are sitting in the egg. They are not coming out. So out of impatience, she breaks open one egg. And out comes a 50% formed personality. And when he comes out, first thing is he comes out of the eggshell. Guess what he does? He gets very upset. Why did you break halfway through? I curse you. Normally when little babies are born, they'll be born quiet and they cry. That's part of their breathing process. Here the baby comes out, curses first. The mother, unfortunately. So, and then he says, because at least you be patient, wait for another 500 years, another Indra is coming. So he protects. Guess who this personality is? Saying this, he then flies. Okay, I'll give you one more clue. He then flies and goes and takes shelter of Surya Bhagwan, Aruna. He later on becomes the charioteer of Surya Dev. So he's the charioteer. He sits in the front and he drives the chariot of sun god. So that is Aruna. And then after 500 years, introducing Garuda comes. When Garuda comes, Indra gets so much scared, true to the curse of Valakilyas. Garuda is so powerful, Indra collected all his might, he still looks like an ant in front of him. At one point, Garuda was just going to blow him to death, literally. Nobody could even withstand the wind that he was actually blowing. Then finally, Indra thinks this is not going to work. And finally, he goes and surrenders in front of Garuda, saying, you are also Indra, I am also Indra. You are Indra of birds, I am Indra of all the demigods. Let us be friends. Then Garuda says, all right. Then they shake hands and Garuda becomes the king of all the birds. And later on, you will see. Because he cursed the Aruna. When he was born, he curses. What does he curse? He cursed that you will become the slave of the first wife of Kashyapa. And then later on, Garuda, he helps come out of the curse, because the condition is when he goes and asks Kadru, she says, well, if you bring the pot of nectar, I will release your mother of the slavehood. Then he goes and snatches, but Garuda was so selfless, he didn't even think about, as he's carrying, he could have drunk a little bit more, right, for himself. He didn't do. When Vishnu sees his selfless nature, Vishnu blesses him. Would you like to be my carrier? Then he says, okay. Then he goes, relieves his mother of the curse, and then from that point onwards, he becomes Vishnu's carrier. So this is the story that's given. So Valakilyas, Garuda Dev ki jai. So then the seventh daughter is Urja or Arundhati. I think we were discussing about Arundhati yesterday. Arundhati is also a very, very famous personality, known for her devotion to the Supreme Lord. Her husband is Vashishta. Vashishta is the Kulaguru of Dashratha, King Dashratha. He is also the spiritual master of Lord Ram himself. Vashishta is a great personality. So this is Vashishta, one of the Brahma Rishis. Through Vashishta, that brings us to today's verse. The great sage Vashishta begot in his wife Urja, also known as Arundhati. So Arundhati and Vashishta, they are actually two stars. They also have their own planetary system. Most of these personalities, they take different forms. They have their own planetary system. They can be stars, they may be graha, they may be some planet, but each one of them they have. So Arundhati and Vashishta, they both actually go around each other. So normally in South India, maybe they do in North India. South India definitely they do that. On marriage days, they would ask the husband and wife to look at the sky to take darshan of Vashishta and Arundhati. So normally they ask, have you seen? Even people if they can't see, because now we don't even have that knowledge. Everyone look at the sky, yeah, we have seen. Like that. It's like a ritual they do, but actually in those days they could see. Even these days, if you see people who know little bit about the position of stars, they'll be able to see it directly. Like how you see the constellation, they can see these two stars, but they go around each other. So both husband and wife are supposed to be working in harmony in the service of the Supreme Lord. That's the idea. So this is Arundhati. And Vashishta he begot through his wife Urja, sometimes known as Arundhati, 7 spotlessly great sages headed by Chitraketu, and they are the names. Remember, hearing these names, what does it do for us? Yeah, very important. Okay, remember these names again as much as possible, at least here. The names of these 7 sages are as follows: Chitraketu, Surochi, Viraja, Mitra, Ulbana, Vashubhridyana, and Dyuman. Some other very competent sons were born from Vashishta's other wife. So Arundhati is the 7th daughter of Mother Devahuti. 8th daughter is Chitti or Shanti, married to Atharva, and through Atharva she got Ashwashira. Then the last daughter, or the 9th daughter, is Khyati, who is married to Bhrigumuni. And Bhrigu in turn gave birth to sons and daughter. Markandeya Rishi comes from Bhrigu line. We were discussing before, we have Bhumandala, Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Maharloka. Chief of the sages in Maharloka. Maharloka is made of all Brahmanas only. Only Brahmanas are allowed to go there, and the chief of all the Brahmanas in Maharloka is Bhrigumuni. Bhrigumuni is a very, very elevated personality. There are many pastimes. You will see Bhrigumuni again appearing in Rama and Mahabharata. You name it, in any Puranic stories you will see great sage Bhrigumuni. There is one famous pastime that's there about once when the sages, they were all together. They were wondering who is the most superior among the 3 Gunavatars. Brahma, Vishnu or Shiva. So they entrust the task to Bhrigumuni. Bhrigu is also one of the sons of Brahma. So then Bhrigu goes first to Lord Brahma, and he goes there. He just looks at him without offering any respects, any obeisances. So Brahma gets a little upset. So then Bhrigumuni concludes he is getting upset. That means he can't be the Supreme Lord. Then he leaves. Then he goes to Kailash. Shiva also considers himself to be the son of Lord Brahma. You know the pastime how Shiva, Rudra, appears from between the eyebrows. So Shiva considers himself the son. So when he sees Bhrigu, he sees like, oh, my dear brother. He comes to embrace. And then Bhrigu starts to verbally insult him, saying, look at you, how you are dressed. I'm a great Brahmana. Do you know who I am? Your body is fully smeared with ashes. You are Muchi, like that. One of Shiva's name is Shulapani. Shulapani means what? One who holds Trishul. When Shiva gets angry, guess what he does? How dare you? He picks up the Trishul, starts chasing him to kill him. And then Mother Parvati comes and stops him, restrains Lord Shiva, telling him, this is your brother, let him go. He has just committed some offense, it's okay. So then Bhrigu concludes, this can't be the Supreme Lord because he is also getting angry. Then finally he goes to the Vaikuntha Loka, And there he sees, you see this different doors that open, toing, 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 toing. And then finally when he goes to Shirodaka ocean, and there he sees Vishnu lying down on the bed of Anantasesh, his lotus feet being massaged by the goddess of fortune. So when Bhrigumuni sees Vishnu, he just walks straight up to him and he just kicks him on his chest. And then Vishnu gets out from his bed and he makes Bhrigu seated nicely, worships him, and then massages his lotus feet, telling him, it's not lotus feet, but Vishnu tells this like that. How can it be lotus feet? You are kicking on Vishnu. But pure devotees. So lotus feet can also be used. So Vishnu massages his feet and he says, your feet is lotus-like, very soft like a lotus petal. My heart is very hard like a rock. Since you have kicked it, your foot must be very pained. Let me just sit and massage. When Bhrigu sees this, his heart gets melted. And then he concludes, this is the Supreme Lord. Because for Brahma, he offends him mentally. To Shiva, he offends him verbally. Even those two levels, in offense we can do Deha, Vak, Buddhi. You can offend someone by punching. That is by Deha. Vak, you can verbally offend someone. Buddhi, you can offend someone just mentally also. You just look at a devotee and you don't smile, it's given. Vaishnava etiquette is, you look at a devotee, you greet at least by smiling. If you don't smile, that's an offense. Look at each other and smile. So, smiling. So when you look at a devotee, you need to at least greet by smiling. You look at Gopinath, how is Gopinath responding to you? Like this. I was listening to Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj's class and he says, yogis, they may actually do a lot of austerity, but they have no intelligence. And he says, they go for tapasya for 60,000 years, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, everything. And finally, Vishnu comes, stares at them, they also stare at Vishnu. That's all they do. They don't even smile at each other. And he says, imagine you are meeting your parents or your friends after like 60,000 years. What will you do? You'll go hug them, smile, talk to them, something you will do, right? But the sages after 60,000 years, they look at Vishnu, Vishnu also looks at them, Vishnu doesn't even smile. They also don't smile. And they go back to their business again. So we should smile. So you can offend another devotee by even ignoring. Are there instances? Couple of instances comes to mind. Indra. Indra offends Durvasa. No word spoken, simply by gesture. Once when Indra was boarded on the back of Airavata. Airavata comes. Airavata has 4 tusks. Airavata also has a compartment also. If you read, it's funny. Anyway, some other time. So Airavata is carrying Indra. Airavat also comes out of the churning of the milk ocean, Samudra Madan Lila. So Airavat carries, and then Durvasa says, oh, this is Indra. Then Durvasa gives him his Mahagarland. And he picks up the Mahagarland, guess what he does? He gives it to his elephant. What does an elephant do when you give a garland? Puts and then tramps on it. That's all done. Durvasa curses him and he goes. That was enough for Durvasa to curse. Here Indra hasn't spoken anything, mental offense only. Another instance, you will see Indra was seated on a very elevated position and everyone is worshipping him. He is accepting the worship. And then in far end of the court, there he sees Brihaspati. He sees Brihaspati. Brihaspati is his guru. When he sees etiquette is, you stand up and then you have to go and worship. But then a momentary lapse in the mind of Indra, thinking, I am Indra. He looks at his guru looks at him, and he looks elsewhere. After looking at his guru doesn't speak a word. He just goes. Have we got this experience? Sometimes you do something wrong. You know that you are doing wrong. Something doesn't feel right before you realize you have done it already. How many of you have that experience? All of us. So Indra does it. You can understand his position. Just a momentary lapse. But as soon as he did like, no, this is my guru. He looks, guru is gone. And then he immediately stops the Guru Puja worship for him and he sends all the demigods. His guru goes in hiding. Nobody could see him. And then he loses all his opulences. So you will see, worshipping Mahat Sevam Dwara Mahur Vimukte. Worshipping the devotees can actually open the door to Vaikunta, but then offending even mentally can bring one crashing down completely in their spiritual life. So we have to be very careful. We can't say, Prabhu, how can it be offense? I didn't do anything. That's the problem. Why didn't you do anything? In Indra's case, he didn't do anything. That's the problem. Correct? When you are supposed to do. Because in many times, not doing anything is not a great credit. In fact, that's the greatest offense. Imagine there's a robbery that's happening and a policeman is just sitting there, idle. He'll get arrested, put in jail. Correct? What's my fault? I didn't do anything. That's the problem. Your job is to do something there to stop. Understand? So, not doing anything is not a great excuse. Because in material world, nahi kastit shanamapi jatu tistati akarmakrit. Krishna says, no one can stay without doing anything, not even. Nahi kastit shanam. Kshana is not even 1 second, 1/11th of a second. Like lava matra, lava is 1/11th of a second. Even a momentary inertia is not possible in material world. We are breathing, we are killing microbes. We cannot actually say, I didn't do anything. We are always doing something. Whether we realize or not, that's a different story. And as we speak, there are many living entities in our body. In one lecture, Prabhupada is saying, we are thinking we are the owner of the body. But there are many worms in our body, they are also thinking that way. I am the owner. Who is this guy? Like that he thinks. But sometimes they may say, there is worms in your body like that. And you think like, where did this foreign particle come? Like that they may be thinking, who is this foreign particle moving? Worms may be thinking that way. Okay, so we have to be very careful. In spiritual life, we have to actively cultivate. We cannot say, I'm just passively sitting here not doing anything. That's not accepted. Okay, because it's not possible. Karma is always going to keep coming to us. Okay. So this is Khyati and Bhrigu. So Bhrigu Muni, then the pastime. That's how the pastime of Lord Balaji. That's the first scene of pastime of Lord Balaji starts. So then Bhrigu Muni then goes back to the sages and he establishes categorically that Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, because even though I have physically offended him by kicking him. So if you see Balaji's chest, you would see the foot of Bhrigu there. It's still being worshipped. The devotees worship even that also. It's a nice sign to actually show how much Supreme Lord is humble. When we come across these verses, Trinadapi Sunichana, we think it's very impractical, right? Why should I be humble? Gramya gata na shunibe, gramya varta na kahibe, balona khaibayat, balona paribe, amani manadahan. Krishna Nama Sadalabe Braja Radha Krishna Seva Manase Karibe. This is the 8 instructions which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives to Raghunath Das Goswami. And he says, each of Prabhupada writes, these 8 instructions, they are the prerequisites for one to become the pure devotees of the Lord. So one should not be talking Prajalpa, one should not be hearing Prajalpa, one should not be dressing very, very opulently. Presentably we should dress, not opulently. Opulence is only for Krishna. One should not eat very opulent foods. Amani Manadhan, one should not accept or one should not expect any respect for oneself. Rather, one should be ready to offer all respects to others. In this mode, after these boxes are all ticked, then one should chant Krishna Nama Sadalabe. Only if somebody ticks all these 6 boxes, can one be accepted, or can one be able to chant all the holy names of the Lord. There was one quote one devotee forwarded me recently. Somebody is asking, His Holiness Bhaktivika Swami Maharaj, if someone chants most part of the day, can we take that as the person had attained Namruchi? Good question. And he says somebody actually sings Kirtan for a long time in a day, can that be taken as the person has attained Namaruchi, the taste for chanting the holy name? Maharaj says, not necessarily. I was like, huh? Not necessarily. And he gave a very interesting explanation. He says, somebody may be sitting and chanting with harmonium or some music instruments, playing mridanga, but they may not be even chanting japa. Someone may be sitting and chanting japa also for a whole day, holding beads. But does that mean they have actually attained ruchi? Because the person may be doing that because they don't want to do anything else. They don't want to do anything else. So he says, somebody similarly, they may be sitting with harmonium or sitting with mridanga. They may be just having a lot of taste for the music instruments. But that doesn't necessarily convert, maybe only. That doesn't necessarily convert and qualify that the person had attained a Namaruchi. Now comes the $1 million question. My mind is in fundraising. Which is, so what is the sign that one had attained a Namaruchi, correct? If chanting japa is not Namaruchi, if singing with music instruments is not Namaruchi, what is Namaruchi? Then he says, if someone had attained a Namaruchi, then it will be palpable as it will be expressed as their enthusiasm for doing devotional service. He says, that's the sign. If someone comes, sits and sings, leaves the temple room with a lot of dirt here, that's not Namaruchi. If somebody don't put the mats back, that's not Namaruchi. You can sit here and do 24-hour kirtan. That's not Namaruchi. When we go out, somebody is actually taking prasad and they are coming for seconds, no one around. If someone is too busy not to be able to even do that service, that's not Namaruchi. If somebody comes to the temple, if we think we are so elevated, we shouldn't be even talking to them. That's not Namaruchi. If we don't have little compassion for other living entities, that's not Namaruchi. Namaruchi means enthusiasm to do devotional service. This is how Maharaj answered that. Okay, just because we are able to sit in one place and staying awake when we chant 16 rounds of japa doesn't mean we have Namaruchi. Just because we are good in singing kirtan or good in playing mridanga, good in playing kartal, or I may be doing harinam, that's not Namaruchi either. Namaruchi means, he says, enthusiasm to do devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and that includes everything. Whatever that is needed for the Supreme Lord. It's pleasure. And he says, that is Namaruchi. So we have to be very, very careful not to put our own interpretation of the devotional principles and let it derail and think, wow, I'm actually such a great chanter. Why? Because I can give me a harmonium, I can sing whole day long. Good. What if I take the harmonium away? Now there is no music. There is only japa. There is just you and Krishna. That's it. If you want, you can sing. Some devotees, have you seen, sometimes before starting japa, I try to hear everyone's holy name. How, what style, what rhythm, what frequency everyone does. Some devotees, they actually sing when they chant. Have you heard it? How many of you have heard some devotees when they chant japa? But that's not necessarily Namaruchi. Same way, some devotee may be dozing off when they chant. That doesn't mean they don't have taste for the holy name. They may be busy, their body actually needs more rest, maybe they didn't take enough rest. I remember once one devotee asked Devamrita Maharaj, no matter how much I try, I'm always falling asleep. Maybe I did aparad, so many things they did. Maharaj patiently heard. Actually, the devotee told me. Patiently heard. And first question he asked was, are you getting enough rest? Sometimes we think esoteric reasons, but it's actually something very basic. Bhagavatam gives a lot of solutions for material problems. I'll tell you the problem. Tell me the solution. How to control sleep? Yes? Yeah. Controlling the eating. It's in Bhagavatam. If you are falling asleep, in japa, control your eating the previous evening. Okay, stop taking solid food. Go for milk. Or if you want to eat, eat like much early, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock like that. So there is enough time for it to digest. Morning you sleep and you wake up. How many of you have realized waking up on Dwadasi morning is very easy? Actually, you don't even need to wake up. You will open your eyes. You close your eyes. I remember once I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I opened. I'm like looking 1:30. Hey, come on, man, only 1:30 close. Turning this way, that way. God. Then you get up, what can you do? So, Bhagavatam gives. So, many times we think esoteric reasons, it's not. Likewise, many times we think little bit progress you make, and you think like, morning you chant japa, 16 rounds, and then you didn't fall asleep, for example, and you felt you did it well. How will you feel? Wow, looks like finally, I'm getting Ramaruchi. Look at all those Vaishnavas, they are sleeping. Krishna, thank you. But then you don't need to go to other extreme. One devotee gave me this example a couple of days ago, and he was asking me, Prabhu, sometimes I get proud. I said, sometimes? Okay, anyway, so then he said, I get proud. A few times when I actually chant, I'm not falling asleep, I'm feeling very proud. I said, like, Prabhu, this is going to other end. Now, I'll tell you, if I react like this, you tell me how it feels. I come to you crying, Prabhu, what happened? I chanted 16 rounds. Did you fall asleep? No, I chanted very attentively. If I cry like that, does that sound natural? What am I supposed to do? If you actually did it well, it's natural to feel joyful, correct? Then you feel joyful. Why do you have to artificially go to the other end, that I'm feeling proud? So what? You want to sleep next day onwards? No. So if we make progress, you understand, we are fortunate. Gopinath, I don't qualify. I'm able to sit, I'm able to stay awake, and I'm able to chant. Thank you very much. Even though there are so many elevated devotees here who are serving so much, they are tired. Because of their hard work, I am able to sit in one place and chant nicely. So, my Lord, thank you very much. Even though I don't deserve, you have given me so much fortune. That's the proper mood. Understand? Okay, it's 9:05. We'll quickly go through another 10 minutes. Sorry. About Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was born as one of the sons of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he himself says he prayed to the Supreme Lord to send a ray of Vishnu. A ray of Vishnu who will help him to propagate Krishna consciousness, who would help him to take the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the length and breadth of this world. And then answering his prayers, Supreme Lord blessed him with Bimal Prasad. Bimala Devi, she is Mother Parvati, she is offered the Mahaprasad of Jagannath. So you know that story, Simantini Devi. She is the one who is the Jagannmata. She offers. Prabhupada says all of us have many parents, biological parents, material parents, spiritual parents also. And Shastras are also parents. Spiritual parents, eternal parents are Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan Ki Jai. So they are our eternal parents, spiritual parents. Material parents are Shiva and Parvati. So whenever you see Shiva and Parvati, we have to offer our respects to them. We have to thank them. You read 4th canto, just before Rudra Gita. Lord Shiva says, who in this world is more dear to Vaishnavas than me? He says like that. When you read it, you will understand, what is in the core of the hearts of, or what's in the core portion of the heart of Lord Shiva. Okay, he has so much compassion, so much pleasure. And he says, if someone takes the shelter of the Supreme Lord, I becomes more pleased. That's why Shiva says, there's no one in this world who can actually say they are more dear to devotees than me. Okay, if Shiva says, got to be true. We have to accept it. He is Supreme Lord himself. So we take. So Shiva, Parvati, they are also our material parents. And then we have biological parents. And we also have Shastras and our spiritual master. Shastras are our mother and our Guru. He is our spiritual father. Radha Gopinath are our eternal parents. Okay, so Bimala Prasad, he names him Bimala Prasad. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that he is the mercy of Bimala Devi. And he was born in Puri, in Sri Kshetra Dham. Right from his childhood, he was a prodigy. He memorized Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says his spiritual master is Shrutidhar. Shrutidhar means once he hears, he'll remember everything. He had a photographic memory. He was able to remember anything just by hearing it once. He mastered astrology. He even wrote a famous book called Surya Siddhanta. But after mastering astrology, he puts it aside, saying, I have studied all of that, but I'm not going to follow astrology. Why? Because he says it says everything except Krishna factor. Finally, when Krishna comes and he changes the game, have you seen this example? Sometimes, you play, how many of you have built like a castle with the cards, something, and some little kid will come, you know what happens after that. Likewise, you do all of these big plans, baby Krishna will come, he'll hit, everything changes, he changes the plan. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, astrology doesn't predict Krishna factor. So what's the point? He had written commentaries of so many books, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, but his most favorite compilation of most favorite book on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Even though he himself wrote commentaries on Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says Chaitanya Charitamrita is very important. You know this famous story he gives. If suddenly there is some tsunami comes and the whole world is inundated, and you are now left with only few books to save, which one would you save? He says, save Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Even if everything else gets washed away, don't worry. And you climb up the roof. And now suddenly water level is rising, you have to let go of the three. One, he says, let go of Bhagavad Gita, don't worry. Hold on to Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then again water level rises, you climb up a little bit more. Now you can hold only one book. Then he says, let go of even Srimad Bhagavatam, hold on to only Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. If he says, if you hold on to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, nothing is lost. And if you read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will see how chaste Srila Prabhupada is in following the footsteps of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Prabhupada follows exact same style. Prabhupada, not just style, Prabhupada repeats exactly the same words of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Like sometimes you hear the room conversations of Srila Prabhupada or morning walk or any conversation, classes, even lectures or books. If Prabhupada wants to drive home a point, he would immediately go quote some verse. Correct? About human form of life. Tell me one verse which you have heard again and again. Prabhupada say, Atato Brahma Jignasa. Guess where it is coming from? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. You go to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, you read, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will give a reference there. Or another time he may say, hogs and dogs. Nayam deho deha bhajam nirloke. Again, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives. Every single verse Prabhupada had quoted, every single point Prabhupada makes, logical point he makes, everything Prabhupada simply repeats from Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will find, like you will never come across, let's say Dhruva Maharaj quoting from Bhagavad Gita. Have you come across any verse like that? No. Or you will never come across, let's say Prahlad Maharaj quoting from Vishnu Purana. You won't. Whatever Prahlad Maharaj says itself becomes a Purana. But you read Chaitanya Charitamrita book will be Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami would be quoting verses from everywhere just to drive home a point. And you will see Prabhupada drives home the same point using the exact same verses. Prabhupada won't move an inch away. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada himself says, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur rated Chaitanya Charitamrita to be more important. Doesn't mean others are inferior, but this is more important than Chaitanya Mangal and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Why? Because they speak about pastimes. Chaitanya Charitamrita not only speaks about the pastimes, but it also gives the essence of our Siddhanta. Prabhupada says it gives the philosophy. That's why this is more important. Prabhupada himself says this is our super contribution to the whole world. This is Prabhupada's own words. Prabhupada says reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, studying Bhagavad Gita is like becoming a graduate, Bhagavatam postgraduate, and Prabhupada says Chaitanya Charitamrita is doctorate. Prabhupada says this is PhD. So he has written a commentary on that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he excavated a lot of holy places. In fact, one of my very first acquaintance with ISKCON came in Srirangam when I saw the lotus footprints of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have established like marble imprints. It's right there in front of the temple, front of Srirangam temple you would see. I've seen it and I wondered, what is this? I was a karmi, I didn't bother going in. And later on, I actually heard from devotees, and then after coming to Krishna consciousness, once I went, I thought like, hey, this is the exact place. So many times I've been, I didn't bother to see. So it's there. So he went to different places and he established the marble footprints. He excavated even Yoga Pit also. And he refurbished the place. He established the temple. In fact, when he was digging, he was able to find even the deities of Adoksaja Vishnu, which was the deity worshipped by Jagannath Mishra. So if you go to the Yogapit temple, you can actually see Adoksaja Vishnu deity, beautiful deity. So he established it. He exemplified the principle of Yukta Vairagya. Anasaktasya Visayan Yatarham Upayunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. We should engage everything in the service of the Lord. He himself would wear coats sometimes. He himself would come in ambassador car. He was giving out revolutionary instructions, saying, what's the use of building temple? We have never heard anyone saying like that, any of the acharyas. Nobody dared to say. So Simha Guru he was very, very pragmatic, and he says, if only I can sell the marble of this Gaudiya Math temple and print books, how nice it will be. So many places you will see. So he liked the sound of the printing machines, saying this is Brihad Mridanga. He says, why are you stopping? When he would take rest, when sometimes they would think this noise was disturbing him, he says like, no, this is Kirtana, keep on going. They would do that. So he was very, very pragmatic. He gave us Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When Prabhupada in his famous Vyasa Puja offering, adore ye all, he says, and a very beautiful poem, and there at one point he says, impersonal calamity thou hast removed. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he hears this, he says, he has understood my mission. And he gives the open order. Hereafter, whatever Rabbi Charan writes, just print it. It doesn't need to be reviewed, just print. He says it like that. He is Nitya Siddha. And in the eternal pastimes of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, he is Nayana Mani Manjari. Nayana Mani Manjari. So he is a Manjari. His father is also a Manjari, Kamala Manjari. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he is also a Manjari in his eternal Leela, Nitya Leela of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. He is a Nayana Mani Manjari. So today is his disappearance day. Prabhupada says in one place that a father is usually